You know, it's finally our first mailbag episode of the season. We almost had to cancel it with how many people asked just for personal voicemail messages from Gil. Psychos and sickos unite for a We Just Got a Letter edition of PHNX Suns, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app, use code PHNX365, deposit 10, place bet for 5 and get $150 in bonus bets. Whole crew here per usual. I'm Erik. We got Steven, Espo, Gil, and the freckled mamba behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen as we have finally hit the point of the season where we opened up the mailbox and we will be answering all of your questions from Twitter, from Discord. We're excited to get into a variety of topics, but before we get there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Become a member today, like Papa Ruby in the chat, like Buddha, and like so many others. Just so y'all know, there are a lot of questions today, too many to get into one show, so we have a very fun group of questions we will be answering and posting for our members only, so you still have time to become a member today just for $5 a month.
Do it.
Do it. I mean, that's just great advice from Steven. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to just jump right into the questions because we do have a lot.
Can you clarify one thing for me?
Maybe.
Mailbox or mailbag? I need to know what we're diving into.
Both.
Okay.
It's a bag
All right,
inside
both.
the box.
All right. Good to
Oh.
know.
A bag in the box?
Yeah. Sounds like a Roddy Ricch lyric. Okay.
Ooh. That's how we
Indeed
start
it
today.
does.
All right.
Indeed it does. And you probably got used more than once.
Don't worry, that album's definitely coming soon. If you know, you know. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it here. Consistent question asker for our mailbags. We appreciate King Ghidorah on Twitter asks, at what point of the season do we see consistent minutes for the Rooks, and which of the two will be getting more minutes? We're going to pair this one with Mario. Of course, Mario Not Bros 2 says, when will we see Brea? I feel like he shows the most confidence when he plays out of all of our rookies, not to mention he's been solid in the G League. He's the only one who hasn't been given a single opportunity this whole season, even with all the injuries. Steven, I think this is a good place kind of to bring up what happened in Tempe last night with the Valley Suns game.
Yeah, so Kobe had a solid game. He left a little bit to be desired on both ends of the floor, and I think the one that really kind of stands out most is defensively. Paul Jesperson, the head coach of the Valley Suns, spoke with us prior to the start of their season saying that Kobe has all of the offensive talent in the world. It's going to be on the defensive end with not necessarily will he be up to the challenge because he knows that, but how quickly does that challenge get met with improvements that are documentable, impact type of plays that are being made. He's not quite there yet. He definitely has flashes, even had flashes last night, but it's less about the flashes and it's more about streamlining those. He obviously has NBA-level talents offensively, shooting the ball, especially going to his left off the dribble, and naturally catching shoots as well. It's about the and then what? What else can you add to the table? And I think it's going to start with the defensive end.
Have you seen any improvements from him on that side of the ball so far?
I feel like he's been more physical than I saw him be on the college level in these G League stages in the games that I've been able to catch. But again, it just comes back to how consistent is that and what's the impact that's coming with that. I think he's getting there, but he's not quite there yet. And I think Coach Jesperson made that understood last night.
Of the three guys, I think Rasheer Fleming probably has the clearest path to minutes.
I mean, I think, Gil, when you look at it for Rasheer and Kaman, I mean, probably two of their best games on obviously either level last night for the Valley Suns. If you had to guess, do we get to a point this season where either of them are consistently in the rotation, or do you think we're going to be playing this kind of G League end of bench game for the rest of the year?
It kind of feels like there's going to be an opportunity, like stay ready type thing, where it's like, look, you're going to get a shot. First of all, show what you need to show at the G League level. Last night is an example of that. Both scored 27 points, got the win. Rasheer Fleming with the clutch three-pointer. But it's like, all right, when your number's called, you've been getting these game reps. What can you show in rotational minutes? And then when you can show that in rotational minutes, you get rotational minutes. So I think it's a matter of staying ready. Steven, I don't know if from your perspective it feels like it's the same type of thing, but that's the read that I've gotten based on their journey between going back and forth between the G and the NBA.
Yeah, it feels like Jordan and company are very intentional about the communication side, so that guys aren't left in the gray area of not knowing what's going on or what's being asked of them or what their route to success is within that. And I think that helps with having those guys have ease at mind, but also having clarity of what it needs to look like for them to get there. And it feels like whenever we get a chance to talk with them, they're all clearly in communication with them because their answers align. And I think that lack of confusion speaks to just kind of, everything that they're building up as far as the culture goes. So they know what they need to do, and they know when they're not operating in that space and what they need to do to get there.
Last thing on this, Espo, just because you and I got into this a lot at the beginning of the season when the Suns were 1-4 about should these guys crack the rotation. We both just wanted them to play consistent basketball. What have you kind of taken away from the fact that they've both been steadily getting better in the G League? And do you feel like that is maybe what will determine whether or not they crack the rotation?
Well, I mean, you needed to see them get better in the G League. If they had continued to play at a lower level, I think you would have had some concern. Where they were last night and what they both accomplished gives you some more confidence, but I think it's about consistency and repeating that and repeating those good habits that they've shown down there every opportunity that they get. I think, like I said, Rasheer gets a little bit more of a chance sooner than Kaman, but I think they're both going to continue to get opportunities in the G League before they have good minutes on the regular roster.
And Rasheer mentioned it at practice today that he relishes the G League opportunity because it's in-game reps, and emphasized it with the tone and speaking on it that he clearly values having the opportunity to just build and get better, because that confidence that comes from it is invaluable. You can't replicate that confidence in practice or in one-on-ones or just one-on-O's. It has to be in 5-on-5. And naturally, we've seen him kind of hit the most return on investment from that through this first quarter of the season.
Now, the next guy we're going to talk about isn't a rookie, but is a two-way player that we have seen crack the rotation rather successfully. Our next question comes from Erik with a C. You're so close to spelling it right. Says, Livers has been one of my top surprises on the roster this year. Didn't think too much when we added him on a two-way, and now I can't see us without him in the reserves. Do we see Livers getting a standard contract before the end of the season? Whose spot does he take? Nigel Hayes Davis's. Gil, what has been your takeaway from what we've seen from Isaiah Livers? Has he shown you that he is a full standard contract guy in the NBA with his stints with the Suns this year?
I mean, I think in the sense that he's reliable, yes. I think there's a numbers crunch, which is unfortunate. The injury situation he's navigating right now is also unfortunate. But I think he feels like a guy where when you talk about whose spot does he potentially take, we'll talk about trades at some point down the line in this show. But if you make a trade where you send more guys out, and you have a roster spot open up, that kind of feels like the Isaiah Livers spot where he steps up. I think about the last time we saw him play was that game in Sacramento. He didn't do anything that really showed up on the stat sheet per se, but I remember us having the conversation in here saying, man, he's awesome. He's active in the passing lanes. He's active. He does exactly what this team wants from players to do. So as far as being a connective player, I think he's found his space as a player in this league. And I think it's just a matter of the roster crunching. I don't know if you guys think it should be something that's prioritized or something that'll just kind of happen in the flow of natural moves.
Well, I think what we have to remember is the Suns do have an open roster spot that they can add somebody right now. And I also think the addition of Jamari Bouye has made that interesting. Yeah. And we'll kind of see how Livers performs when he does get back. And Jamari might just make it a, hey, it's got to be you type of guy with how he plays. But I think we can all agree that Isaiah Livers has been a pleasant surprise and one of the guys on the margins that we've enjoyed, but they don't have to cut anybody to add anybody. And like you mentioned, we are going to talk about trades. Roster spots might open up. Big rumors all around the NBA from Giannis to Zion, and of course, realistic actual margin moves the Suns might be able to trade. Plus, should they prioritize trading and being a buyer at the deadline? Those are all the topics that we've reserved a lot of time for. The PHNX Suns mailbag is going to continue on the other side of our first break. I mean, this might be the best time to indulge in some pure edibles because you never know what kind of crazy trade is going to make its way to your timeline. And
they can get crazier with your pure edibles.
Well, it can. And you might just not want to get offended at the stupid trades that everybody's been making for the Suns because, my Lord, some of those have stressed me out and they're not even real. Like, look, pure edibles can give you the relaxing effects, the uplifting effects, the sleeping effects, everything in between. And the best part is we're local. We love supporting local. And Pure Edibles was founded in Arizona and available in 130 dispensaries statewide. But it's not just about the effects, it's about how they taste. They're not just covered in sugar and taste like weed like all their competitors. No, Pure is a full-fledged candy company offering gummies, Kicks, which is their version of Starburst, Chews, which are soft candies, and then hard candies if you're in the retirement home and you want to have some fun as well. They all blend CBN, CBG, CBD, and marijuana-derived THC, and they're easy to be bit or ripped in half, making it easy to dial in your exact dose. I always say start low, go slow, find out what works for you, and go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona.
If you're in the old folks' home, you can have some fun with our friends at Bet365 because over 90 million people worldwide trust Bet365 when it comes to their gaming. And you can't blame them because whether you like the MLB, NHL, NBA, NFL, whatever it is, or one of the other 78 sports that you can bet on live in-game, Bet365 has you covered. And right now, you can get an unbelievable deal if you sign up because there's breaking news with Bet365.
Woo woo.
Oh, there we go. You can get $150 in bonus bets if you're a new customer and you deposit $10 and then you bet $5 on any kind of bet. And then win or lose, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets. It's just that easy. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and many more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 over, physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a problem gambling, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov.
Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for our first mailbag edition of the show. If you guys like it, we'll continue rocking when we do these 3 p.m. shows at different intervals during the season. A reminder for those who missed at the beginning, we will have a good chunk of these fun questions at the end that we're going to be releasing just for members only. So you definitely want to be a member if you want to check that out, like Sean and like Buddha in the chat. One thing I wouldn't trade the world, though, for is all of our watch parties over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos at Wild Horse Pass. We've got one on Monday. It's Gil's first watch party as a part of the crew as the Phoenix Suns take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tip-off is at 5:30. We'll be doing a pregame show at 5. We'll be there even before that. If you want to come by, say hi, or just come by at 5:30. Watch the game with us. Root on our Phoenix Suns as they look to go 2-0 against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll have a pre- and post-game show from Gila, food and drink specials, PHNX giveaways, and, of course, immaculate vibes only. RSVP for free to be entered into our raffles at gophnx.com/events.
And I'm buying your first drink.
And Espo's buying your first drink.
And Gil's because it's his first one.
Well, there we go. And then we're all getting Steven drunk. That's the game plan.
I have a say-so in that.
Yes,
I said
you do.
no.
Oh,
Yes, you do.
fine. Well, we know that Giannis has a say in where he's going to be traded.
Yes, he does. Oh, he
let's,
does. Absolutely.
Let's crack open the trade talks here on the PHNX Suns mailbag. I'm going to read a bunch of questions off at once because I think they all kind of encompass the same conversation, and then we'll dive into it piece by piece. This one from Psycho Blue in our diehard Discord. Psycho Blue says, if the Suns are still several games above 500 heading into the trade deadline, what do you think the play from the front office should be, and what do you think it will be given the Suns' lack of assets? Another question from 70 in one night, aka Lexville, says, Suns are basically a playoff team. Is the plan still to trade Royce O'Neal? Rasheer Fleming doesn't appear ready, but the offers for Royce may be way too enticing for how he has been playing out of his mind. And the last one also from Erik with a C again says, if the Suns were to seek any trades before the February deadline, who is realistically on the block? What would we be looking for to enhance this roster? Who even has any trade value that we'd be willing to part with? So let's kind of start with the big picture thing. If the Suns are several games above 500, what do we think they should do at the deadline?
I think they go all in. Or not go all in.
Okay,
Not
you got to
go
define all in.
Okay,
Because my PTSD just started flying.
Let me.
We're trading for Kevin Durant.
I caught myself. They need to improve in the margins to make a run because ultimately we're not playing for a lottery pick. So, let's go and try to figure this out. How can you go up a tier? Can you go from being like a team that's on the fringe of being the play-in to being in the top 6? Make that move. If you're a team that's kind of in that area of maybe making it into the play-in tournament, if you can solidify yourself into the top 7, do that. If you can get a home game in the play-in tournament, whatever it is to move yourself up a tier than you are, I think that's the move that you make. And I think that can be done in the margins because, remember, this is the beginning of December, so there are guys who are going to become available that aren't available right now. There are people who are going to become disgruntled overnight, like we saw 2 nights ago, maybe not of Giannis' stature, but there are some situations, the Clippers, things that continue to fall apart. There are a lot of things that will change over the next couple of days and weeks that could give the Suns some opportunities.
Yeah, I think for me it is either power forward or center. I think center's where I'm looking. If I'm talking names, we've mentioned Gogo Batase. I'm intrigued, and people might laugh, but I think Brook Lopez could be had
Clipper
for,
situation,
for next to nothing. And sure, he's having his worst season ever, and I think it might be because he's on the Clippers, not because he fell off a cliff. He's a guy that can stretch the floor, has been traditionally good defensively, would make a great option in this rotation as a center, and you can probably get him cheap.
Yeah, what he provides is size in a way that the Suns, even with Mark Williams in the lineup, don't have to the extent that he would kind of help to bridge a gap with. There's dependability with him. He's defended in multiple schemes. The Clippers have switched him a lot since he got there. Milwaukee switched him a lot, even when they got to the finals against the Suns. That was a kind of wrinkle in that series to kind of throw the rhythm off. So he can do a lot of different things for you. And then the other one that I'm sure people will gravitate to most is a big that can shoot the three ball and how that manipulates the spacing for a team that loves to do that. Brook will be great for the experience part as well as the skills that he brings. A name I would like to see the Suns entertain is Jonathan Isaac. And I think he's a player that's kind of on the fringe of the rotation in Orlando. He's not getting as many minutes as he was before. He's been healthy for the most part recently. I feel like he's a piece that would give them versatility. Jordan Knott mentioned a couple of weeks ago that they don't really have a small ball option. Isaac gives you that, and he's one of the most active defenders in the last 5 years of the entire league, especially when he's been healthy.
I think before we keep on going with specific names, I just want to take a step back. And are we all on the same page that let's fast forward to February, okay? Beginning of February, the Suns are multiple games above 500 still. Let's say they're somewhere in the 5, 6, 7, 8 area, somewhere in that first two in the play-in or last two in the playoffs. Are we okay with parting with maybe some pieces to try to make this current iteration of this team better? Or do we just kind of want to say, hey, we're playing with found money. Let's not change anything up. That's not like a literal margin of margin moves, like maybe trading Nick Richards for something, and just see what we have with this group.
I don't trade anything of significance. I mean, second round pick, maybe Nick Richards. Maybe if the deal's good enough, I consider a Royce, but I'm not going with anything more than that. You stick with what you have. You stick with your plan, and it's around the margins, like I think you were trying to say.
Yeah, Royce is the name that gets mentioned the most, and I feel like that's like the most you should be willing to part ways with, because again, tied into that first question, ideally you hope that Rasheer or some of the younger guys are able to kind of make up for that production in different ways by committee. So I think you're kind of comfortable with that, making it a short-term and long-term move. But other than that, it does kind of feel like if the asking price is too high, you just say, look, I'm comfortable with what we got in this locker room, and we'll see where it goes if the chips fall where they may.
And I think if you're targeting something, you want more size in the front court, to Espo's point, whether that be at the 5 or the 4 or someone that can be a hybrid of both and kind of add to your lineup versatility. You want to have more size. And I think the two guys' names that we mentioned would definitely check that box off in different ways.
And that's what we think they should do. But as we know, the Phoenix Suns under Matt Ishbia have had a propensity of putting all their chips on the table, going all in, like Gil said. Now, we know this is a different front office. We'll talk a little bit more about the front office later. Do we think that there's a reality where we're fast forwarding to the trade deadline and there is a star, right? Like, let's say like it is a Giannis and he's like, look, like Jimmy Butler, Phoenix is on my list of destinations. A Zion, who obviously has had an up and down career for a variety of different fronts. Do we think that there is a way that the Suns look at maybe a star they can get for a better value, or they look there and they say, you know what, maybe we do part with a Rasheer, a Kaman, a Grayson? And I know that we're all shaking our heads as we wouldn't do that, but we're not the ones sitting there making decisions. Do we think that that's off the table this season?
Yeah, because they stated that they don't want to build that way. And I believe that they're committed to the way that they're going to do this. I think there's a better chance that we're at Gil and Sydney Sweeney's wedding in the summer than we are seeing the Suns make a big trade. I believe in your game is what I'm saying.
Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I will say I won't go to that extent.
Hey.
Not even close to that.
somebody believes in me.
Sorry, Gil. I can't go there. I'm not cut like that.
She might be watching this.
She might be. If she is, she better comment and retweet, by the way, too, and subscribe. But
I'm going to put my money on that's not happening.
as we're off of that and we get back to the basketball part, Oh, the Suns don't have any picks. It's hard to get in that dance if you aren't extended one of those kind of invitations. If you don't have that to get into it, it gets hard. So you might be able to get to the numbers in terms of salary, and you might not have the tax aprons to navigate, that's a relief for us, even in thought exercise. I can only imagine what it looks like in the actual front office. That considered, though, no picks involved. It makes it hard to attain any type of superstar, even if they do choose your destination.
I'm going to list off some names on the Suns, and I want you to tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you absolutely would not trade them, 1 being I'm willing to move on from you for a protected second-round pick, where you would put them. Okay? Nick Richards.
Would deal him in a heartbeat.
1? That's a 1, right?
I mean, yeah.
1.
Yeah, it would be a 1.
Oso Iguodala.
I feel like I've been higher on Oso than, well, we haven't really gotten Gil's perspective fully yet.
I would say I feel like that's like a in between 5 and 6. Like
okay.
Right deal. Yeah.
Yeah, probably a 6. I was going to do the thing. I don't want to do the thing. So, yeah.
So the higher the number, the
less likely you are to trade them.
I'm probably at like a 6-ish.
Like 10 is like they're your friends.
Untouchable, yeah.
Okay.
I'll go like 5.5, 6.
Yeah, like 3 weeks ago, I might have been lower than that. But right now, I see the vision.
Come on, Malawach.
It's got to be a big fish, and you can't get a big fish without having picks. So for me, man, it's probably like an 8 right now. That's your gift. That's your crown jewel right now.
7, 8, yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably 8, 8.5 when it comes in. If it's the right thing, and for somehow you could, but no.
Royce O'Neal.
3.
I would say I'll give Royce a 2, and I say that because he's been one of the best shooters in the league, meaning that his top-tier skill is something that could get more of a return than it typically would. If you're doing it, you know about the dips and the ebbs and flows, so you want to try to strike while the iron's hot there.
Yeah, 3 straight off value alone, same they said.
My hesitancy is he's a forward and he can shoot 3. I think Austin said that in the chat as well. That he's got some size. And you don't want to lose that unless you get it back.
Mm-hmm.
Grayson Allen.
I feel like Grayson is far too important to the Suns and their offensive ecosystem, which we spoke to before the season started, and naturally when he did what he did through the first quarter. I'm not going to say he's a 10, but he's probably like a solid 7.5 for me right now.
7 feels fair. I mean, again, he's one of those guys where like the deal would have to be good, and you have to replace that and maybe then some in order for me to consider it.
Got some 10s in the chat for Grayson.
Well, honestly, I don't blame him. I'm probably 8.5, 9 because you don't know what Jalen Green's going to be when he comes back or if he'll be healthy. So Grayson becomes that much more important on that front as well. So.
Well, Jalen Green.
10.
9.
Yeah, you've invested a lot in him. I would say probably nothing less than a 9.
Dylan Brooks.
About 8, 9 again.
I'll go 8 because of how important he's been to help develop the culture and the mindset right now.
Yeah, it has to be the absolute most right of right moves. So he's no less than a 9 as well.
The last one I'll ask, because I find this one fascinating, is Rasheer Fleming. Now remember, the Suns are able to aggregate contracts now. So they could put a Nick Richards with a Rasheer Fleming and combine that salary to get somebody who's maybe more able to help them now. Obviously, they only have that second-round pick to deal. Is Rasheer on the same level as a Kaman as far as untouchable, or are you about in the middle ground?
I think I'm probably a 6 when it comes to Rasheer because you can find wings and big guys in his size range out there, and he's obviously not at the potential level of Kaman. So if the right deal came along and he's your sweetener rather than a draft pick, I'd consider it.
5, 6. I was really high on him coming to the draft process, and he just kind of checks those boxes. He hasn't put it all together, but he just has the makings of a guy who you regret parting ways with when he does put it together. But again, that is a big if it happens. But I feel like if it all comes together, then he'll be very valuable in the next couple of years.
And the big if is who
are you getting
from the trade?
Again, I think you have to remember, I'm not just saying you trade them for anybody, right?
No,
so like if you're trading Grayson Allen, you're assuming you are getting like replacement level value,
Right.
either in picks or a different position for Grayson Allen. You're not trading them for the same thing. I know I said last one, but I just want to ask Devin Booker.
9.9.
11.5.
10, because you said 1 to 10.
I like it, following the rules.
I would.
Okay, so that's kind of a snapshot of the Suns roster, right? And kind of gives us an idea. And I think it's interesting. There's guys I didn't ask, like Colin Gillespie, for the value that you have on his contract. You're not going to be able to get that much back for him. Same thing with Jordan Goodwin, not making a lot of money, not even guaranteed. Roster spot right now for Jordan Goodwin, so I'm not going to ask about that. I guess Ryan Dunn is really the only other one, but I would say for most people he'd probably be like a 7-ish area.
Mm-hmm.
So on the other side of things, we've mentioned Jonathan Isaac, Brook Lopez. I continue to hammer home that I would love Goga Bitadze. There's another Magic center that I think would be great, and that is Mo Wagner. I just don't think that the Magic would part with Franz's brother, but I think that he would be a good fit here. Are there any other names or pieces that you're looking at across the league that you're like, okay, if that person becomes available or if we can buy somebody for cheap, that's a name that I'm interested in?
No, there's not a lot other than that. I think I'm looking at backup center is where I'm looking, unless something drastically changes over the next month and a half leading up to the trade deadline, that you go, oh, we need to fill that hole because something happened or a guy completely fell off a cliff in terms of production. So no, I think it's those centers right now.
Yeah, I feel like it is a short list. I think the eye is just looking at certain situations that could go off the rails. Like the Clippers went off the rails quicker than we expected it to. But like, have your eye on some teams who maybe lose 6 or 8 games in a row. Skip the other.
The classic 6 or 8 game losing streak.
6 or 8 games in a row, and things are starting to look bleak for them. And they have guys who are coming off the bench and contributing and looking a little disgruntled. I think that would be where you kind of look at, because again, things could change really quickly. I think that's where you go from there.
We know in the NBA there's only even number losing streaks.
Yes, exactly.
Just a couple of other names. Go ahead.
Kuminga is naturally,
and that was kind of one of the guys I was going to bring up.
That's one name. One name that I continue to have an eye on. I have a nice list of names, but one of the guys outside of Jonathan Isaac for me, Ochai Agbaji.
We did talk about that.
So that's a player that has a lot of potential. Has been kind of sliding up and down in terms of the rotation in Toronto, and they've been having some success over there. But his impact hasn't hit the way that it did last season. I wonder where he is and how they gauge his value. If he's on the low end, then you can bring in a younger wing that does a lot of the things that you already do as a template for success in this individual role already. That's like a hand-in-glove fit for the culture as well as the style of play.
Kuminga's interesting based on how far has his value dropped in the Warriors' eyes, because if you can get him for a price that you're okay with, then yeah, definitely. But I'm not overpaying like what they were trying to expect to get from him in the offseason.
Oh, Buddha asks, is Kuminga a dog though? And I think with how we saw how interested the Suns were in the offseason, Gil, on Jonathan Kuminga, you have to imagine they've done their research and see a guy that could fit there. Plus, we talk about a scoring athletic 4. That's probably the most realistic option that you could take a gamble on, but he's also going to want a contract.
Yeah, and it's also unfinished business, G League Ignite with him and Jalen Green. So let's not forget about that. They got a little history with those two guys. But my favorite thing with Jonathan Kuminga is he's a guy who last year, for whatever reason, not in the Warriors playoff rotation. Steph Curry gets hurt. He comes back in the NBA playoffs cold. Now just like 25 a game in the NBA playoffs for 4 games. And then that speaks to how talented he is. So I understand there are a lot of questions around him. I think that a lot of it is a system thing and not a Jonathan Kuminga thing. I think if he gets a new scenery, I think would help him a lot. So I wouldn't be completely out on that, especially if the Warriors are ready to cut ties, which it seems like they are. They've been ready to cut ties. It's just been a weird ecosystem for making it happen.
And because it's still a 1-year deal, like he's only under contract for this year, the qualifying offer, then he needs an extension. You wouldn't have to presumably trade a ton. I could see the Warriors being interested in like a Royce O'Neal, Nick Richards package, just because those are two guys that might be able to find their rotation minutes. I mean, especially Royce there. Just a few other really quick names. If we're talking about saving guys from the Clippers, I do think John Collins could fill a role for this team, especially at that 4 spot as a lob catcher. I think that's somebody who would thrive in Jordan Ott's system. I think Robert Williams, if you want to take another gamble on a center's health with how you've handled Mark Williams.
Williams and Williams.
Yeah, I mean, again,
put them both on the plan. Mismatch.
100%.
Yeah.
Mismatch. Look, I think those are 2 names as far as bigs go. And the last thing on Kuminga before we take a break here and continue with our mailbag is we saw the Suns clearly had a plan for Jalen Green. A plan that I didn't personally believe in when it was who would be the worst possible return for Kevin Durant. I put Jalen Green at the bottom. Now I'm sitting here and I'm like salivating at the idea of him playing alongside Devin Booker and Jordan Ott's system. You have to imagine that they've done their research on how would this guy fit in here and can we buy low on somebody like that. Royce has been great. Royce is older. Mm-hmm. This team still is not in a win a championship now type of thing, and Royce has had one hell of a season. So that might be okay, let's kind of gamble a little bit on the future and believe in our system and our development of young guys.
Last thing I'll throw out there, I see people mentioning P.J. Washington. I do like you looking at the Mavericks, but I think you should shift the attention to Najee Marshall.
That'd be great.
That's a Swiss Army knife that lit the league up last season when they were dealing with injuries. He's someone that can play multiple roles, and we've seen him do it on the playoff stage against the Suns.
Yeah, and one last thing I was going to say, there are definitely contenders out there that say, hey, you know what, we're one Royce O'Neal away from like maybe sifting the tables a little bit. So I like that.
What's going to be fun is that I really think that the Suns could go either way. And I think that they're going to be in a really cool position to where they have faith internally. They don't need to make a move. There might be a team that makes themselves available that the Suns can go and poach. And honestly, at the end of the day, if they just continue to say, we're going to run it and we're going to go with this group, I don't think anybody up here or any fan right now would be upset with that.
No, I mean, unless something drastically changes, no, I would have no problem with that.
Well, look, we're going to get back to the team currently at hand. Can the Suns win without Devin Booker? How will Jalen Green fit into this lineup? Will we ever see Mark Williams on back-to-backs? And is this front office lucky or really just damn good? Those are all questions we're going to answer on the other side of our second break. Look, you want to do your research, whether you're going in the trade machine or whether you're hiring a lawyer. No matter what, you want to be prepared, especially after an accident or a serious injury. And that's why we've done the research for you. Go contact Mark and Alexis Fryer at the Husband and Wife Law Team. Not just because their team brings hundreds of years of combined trial experience, but also because they have multiple certified specialists in personal injury and wrongful death. Their entire practice only focuses on personal injury and wrongful death. Their team actually goes to trial. And guess what? They're from Arizona. They care about Arizona. They're invested in local sports. I'm sure you've seen the commercials and them being involved with all your local sports franchises. Plus, they are happy to make you promises and guarantees along with all their other clients. You can cancel your fee agreement at any time. You'll receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive for their fee. And you can speak with any of their lawyers as often as you choose about anything you want to discuss. If you've had a serious injury, call the Husband and Wife Law Team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website at the link in our show notes and tell them PHNX sent you.
Everybody needs a checking account. It's just a fact of life. So why not get the best one available with our friends at Mountain America Credit Union? The My Lifestyle checking account is unbelievable. You should make it, your lifestyle, because with the My Style checking account, you're going to get unbelievable benefits like mobile phone protection, loan rate discounts. I know you might be looking for a place to live long-term out here. You're going to need loan rate discounts. So why don't you go over to Mountain America Credit Union? You might as well. Telehealth access is a huge thing as well, and discounts on travel and events. Why wouldn't you become a part of this? Because when you make my style your lifestyle, you're going to get unbelievable benefits. So visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. Insured by NCUA, membership required based on eligibility. Some benefits required, no cost registration and activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply, like everything in life.
Oh, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're always staying tuned at PHNX Suns for when we put out our great grandfather, the pioneer of Arizona. Go to Mountain America Credit Union.
Yes. 430 years ago, my great grandfather went to Mountain America Credit.
Okay. Let's keep it going with our mailbag here. You can always submit questions when we post it at PHNX Suns or in our diehard Discord, like this one from Russell. Says, with Booker out, do you think Gillespie, Brooks, and crew can win one or two of the games that he will miss? Espo, I feel like we're on the same page with this one, but what do you think about their odds of winning games without Devin Booker?
Well, I think we're being optimistic that we think it'll be 2 games, but I think they can win any game that they step out there, given the way we've seen them play. And it just comes down to how many turnovers are they generating? Are they hitting their threes? If they're doing those two things, they can defeat anybody in this league. Hell, they almost beat OKC. You got Houston, you got Minnesota, you got OKC in those next three. I think bare minimum it's one win. You probably could get two.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard, but we've seen it all season. This team has been winning without Jalen Green for basically the entirety of it. Grayson Allen for a big chunk, and now they'll be facing without Devin Booker. But guess what? They handled that adjustment mid-game and beat the Lakers. Obviously, Steven, we haven't seen Jalen Green for a long time, and a lot of Suns fans or just casual NBA fans are wondering, when is Jalen Green going to be back? Another question from our diehard Discord. This one from Lee Corso. Thanks for coming out of retirement and asking us a question, Lee. Says, when is Jalen going to be on the floor?
Yeah, I think the soonest, and I mean the absolute soonest, seems like based off of the timeline they communicated, will be around Christmas. So they play the Lakers on the 23rd that week. I imagine at some point around there, we probably have a relevant update past him just making improvements. They can kind of gauge maybe a timetable on when to potentially expect him. I personally, this is not reported, been on the side that they probably won't bring him back until going into the new year, which would come after a long-lasting road trip that the Suns are on. So you bring him back at home, allow for him to kind of get his feet wet and get back into the rotation from there. But yeah, the window of time that they communicated was around Christmas, and that's in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and we'll let you know. And if any indication that he's coming back, we'll be talking about it right here. I think this next conversation is where we really crack our knuckles and get into it, because there has been a conversation on Suns social media about what happens when Jalen Green comes back. This question comes from Matt Talks Sports. Says, how will Jalen Green fit into this lineup when he comes back? Considering how good Colin and Grayson have been, would he sit on the bench? I think there's a twofold conversation here, Gil. Let's start with the second part of that question. Do you see a world where Jalen Green comes off of the bench for the Suns?
Not for an entire time. I could see him coming off the bench in case to manage his minutes as he returns back to playing. But this team is at its best. We've seen it, unfortunately, just for 30 minutes of game time. But we saw how lethal this team could be if Jalen Green is a part of that starting lineup. We've talked about how he and Devin Booker need to learn how to play off of one another. And I think what's important now, especially when we're talking about timelines and when he's coming back, you got to get that runway for the postseason, for these key games that are coming down the season stretch run. So he can't just be in the part of the rotation that he's not actually going to be in. So personally, I feel like if he's going to be playing a reserve role, it will only be limited to just mitigate any risks of further injury until he gets back fully into game speed.
Yeah, I don't think you bring him back if he's not ready to go into the starting lineup.
Fair.
Myself, you brought him in because you built an offense that is geared towards what he does. You brought him in because he's 23 and he could be your star of the future. I love Colin Gillespie. I love what he's been doing, but I'm not benching a guy because he got hurt with that much potential, who's proven it over a full season with Houston, for Colin Gillespie, who's had a nice run as a starter, but I think can be that centerpiece of the bench, likely alongside Grayson or Royce, on that bench scoring. So no, I'm not benching Jalen Green. If he's healthy, he's not going to be a non-starter. That's just not happening.
Yeah, I think the starting lineup especially is missing what Jalen Green can and has shown to bring in just 30 minutes played this season. I talked about yesterday the lack of attempts at the rim for the team, the last in the league last time I checked earlier this week. May have shifted a little bit with other teams playing since they played, but they've generally been a team that's lower on the frequency at the rim. And a lot of that at the rim is coming from their bigs. It's not their guards getting all the way to the rim. Jalen Green is someone that can go and get there, and it's going to come with a certain type of gravity that pulls guys away from the perimeter, and now you're right back where you want to be in terms of generating those catch-and-shoot threes. But it's not just a glancing paint touch. It's a threatening scoring type of paint touch that comes with attention. The other part of it too, free throw rate. Jalen Green showed to get to the free throw line plenty in the 30 minutes that he played for the Suns so far. So them being able to get that hit from everything that he does getting downhill on top of the shot making and shot creation for others is going to be a shot in the arm. The other side of it is Colin Gillespie, obviously. He's been very good for the team and just being adaptable. I do think he's going to hit his ceiling when he's in that role as a super sub, a sixth starter, if you will, if you don't want to go six man.
there's nuance here. Like, the best teams in the NBA, guess what? They have more than 5 players who could probably start on other teams. Just because a guy is good in that starting role does not mean that they should be the starter when your team is fully healthy. It is a luxury to have a guy like Colin Gillespie who can step in and be a starter and be that good. Reality-wise, Colin Gillespie's future in this league is going to be on really good teams, be that 6th man of the year, be that super sub, that guy who's, oh my God, how are you coming off the bench? Or starting for a team that doesn't really have that type of guard depth. Right. Jalen Green is the Suns' offensive system outside of Devin Booker. That was the entirety of why they got him. And honestly, look, this is the main centerpiece of a trade for Kevin Durant. You are betting on this guy getting better and only being 23 years old. Like, the ceiling for him is so much higher that he gets the benefit of the doubt. He gets that runway. Now, look, let's be honest here. If he's playing and starting for multiple months and it's just clear that he doesn't have it, which I don't think any of us believe is going to happen, but that plays out, don't be surprised if Jordan Ott makes that pull or if Colin's minutes end up coming a little bit closer to Jalen's. But until proven otherwise, Jalen Green is the starting shooting guard for the Phoenix Suns, and he's going to most likely be starting alongside Grayson Allen because the one game that we saw them fully healthy, it was those 3, Dillon Brooks and Mark Williams. Obviously, we didn't get to see Jalen for the full game, but I don't think Grayson's losing his starting spot. Colin was clearly built in to be the 6th man in this team. He's had an incredible start to the season. He started 3 games. He's still been one of the most important guys, and maybe he'll close games if they need him to. But to me, this isn't even a conversation. It's a blessing to have this amount of guys that are this talented.
Great problem to have.
Jalen Green's the starting shooting guard for the Phoenix Suns until he loses that opportunity through his own play. Not from being injured.
And back to Mario's question earlier about Kobe Bryant, this is why I don't feel like he's going to see minutes on the NBA level this season. The Suns have a lot of depth at the thing that he does best, which is scoring the basketball at that particular position. If he's not doing that better than those guys and there's more questions to answer on the other end, it's hard to navigate it. So you'd rather him just get the game reps like we talked about with Rasheer Fleming.
The real question is, what happens with Jamari Bouye and what happens with Jordan Goodwin? Because you've been getting great minutes from them. Does Jordan Goodwin still find a way to be in this rotation? Is Jamari Bouye still going to be a guy who cracks the rotation despite being on a 2-way? Do you put him up on a standard level contract? Those are the only 2 guys that you look at and you say, okay, Jalen Green's return is going to really impact their minutes.
Yeah, I think with Bouye, because again, they have a glutton of guards that can score the basketball when everyone's healthy. That's not something that they need another layer of. I think the twofold part was Bouye can give you spark minutes on the league level and you need a missed injury, but he can also go to the G League level and help you further expedite when Malawach is down there, when Fleming is down there. In particular with Brea, because he spent the most time down there, get him back on track and more similar to a role that he will play on the NBA level. And the other part of that is CJ Huntley as well.
Yeah, I think blue-collar stuff is what gets you an opportunity, and I think that in spots, whether it's like, hey, look, the team needs a shot in the arm, the team is struggling, team isn't getting on loose balls, which we have not seen from this team. So this is really kind of a far-fetched scenario, but I do think you keep those guys around kind of break in case of emergency when the team needs that. But like you said, we'll see Bouye come back down to the G League once everybody gets healthy. But I think Jordan Goodwin does bring a certain level of thing where he could get some spot minutes here and there. Somebody gets in foul trouble, he's a guy who can trust. It's a luxury to have a guy like that has thrived in this system at bigger minutes than we thought he'd be getting this year.
Yeah, look, the reality situation is this is something that we'll be really getting into when Jalen Green is either close to returning or we've seen him on the court. We appreciate the question. We know that's been flying around on Sun Social, so we just wanted to address it. We're all on the same page, though. Jalen Green is starting. Emerson asks, how do I join the Discord? Well, you got to become a diehard today. You could scan that QR code on the screen. You could be like Buddha the Schizo, whose question comes from our diehard Discord. This one we won't spend too much time on. Just says, do you ever think we'll be able to see Mark Williams play on both nights of a back-to-back? Espo, put on the Espodamus hat. Looking forward. Do we ever see Mark Williams on the second night of a back-to-back?
Maybe a stethoscope too, just, really.
I'll listen to the knee and see. No, the plan is the plan. I just don't see it. There's 10 more or 12 more back-to-backs.
Ridiculous.
This season. I don't see, especially if you do what we talked about and get a backup center that fits your needs. That can slide into that spot from time to time. No, I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll obviously see when there are more back-to-backs and how he's listed on the injury report and whatnot. That'll be interesting to find out. But again, that's just one of those things we don't know. But What we can talk about is this front office. And is this season more of a lot of luck? Is it a lot of planning? And have our expectations shifted for this team? We've still got a good amount to dive into on the PHNX Suns' first mailbag of the regular season, and we're going to get into it on the other side of our final break. It's cold. I mean, it's not like freezing cold, but it's cold.
This guy's
I'm chilling.
It feels great outside.
Here's the thing.
man.
It
chilling,
is.
right?
Yeah,
What
I
you
love
talking
it.
about?
And here's the thing. I love it. I love how it feels outside. I love all that. But there are some people who might be having to turn their heat on for the first time all year because we're used to having our AC
Turn your
on.
heat on.
Look, I'm just saying, you can laugh about it, but there are a lot of people here. Your blood gets thinner. Things get a little bit cooler in the winter.
Yeah, he is.
Look, APS is here to help you no matter what your thermostat is set at. Maybe you still have the air on during the winter. Maybe you don't have anything on at all. APS is the best way to help you save energy and money with a smart thermostat. Smart thermostat, you can just pull out your phone. You can adjust the temperature. You can adjust it whenever you want to take advantage of lower cost off-peak hours, especially if you're entertaining and there's a lot of people in a room. It's getting warmer. You don't got to stand up to change the temperature. You can just pull your phone out and turn that air on. And right now, APS customers can get a new smart thermostat from as low as $0 at aps.com/sale. Shipping and taxes not included. Other restrictions apply.
Talking about old people, they don't understand technology. But guess what? If you're a last-minute shopper, you can get something that is technological, but will also be usable for them. It's an Aura frame. The best part, you can upload the photos and pictures before it even gets sent to the person that you're gifting it to. It is unbelievable. I got one of these in the office. We're going to put it here in the studio when I finally get around to it. But it is a fantastic piece of technology, and it looks good. Like, it's not one of those pieces of digital technology that you go, oh, it just stands out. It looks great. No, this is a classy looking frame that you can set up, and it's a way to personalize a gift for somebody that you care about. And for a limited time only, you can save by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames. You're going to want to do this because they were named #1 by Wirecutter by using promo code PHNX at checkout. The Aura frames are at Aura, A-U-R-A, frames.com. Promo code PHNX. The deal is exclusive to our viewers. Frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get in time for holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Don gets it in the chat. Bro, I haven't turned my air conditioning on in probably a month and a half now.
You want me to
If
pat you
not
on the back,
almost 2
bro?
months. No, I don't need that. No.
At what temperature does your heater go on?
I haven't had to use my heater. I genuinely don't think I've ever used my heater since I've gotten out here. It's been a little over a year for anybody that's.
I'm very confused at what to do. Like I don't know what to do. Like I've been comfortable. I just don't know. Like,
Whatever
what's
you want to
supposed
do,
be
man.
on.
It's just you.
Just know that when you do decide to go use your air conditioning or your heater, if it's not apt, I will be over your shoulder like.
Crack a window, turn on a fan if you get a little warm this time.
Welcome to PHNX Air Conditioning.
Hey, don't say the show blows, all right?
Oh, there you go. Let's turn up the heat. I think this might be my favorite question we got. I like all of the questions we got. This one from our diehard Discord, though, had me scratching my chin and going, From Gary the Cat, awesome name, says, how much of this season's success can be attributed to the front office actually knowing what they're doing and maximizing the KD trade and having faith in development of players like Gillespie, etc. Of course, they're going to take credit for laying the groundwork and having a plan, but it seems to me like there was a lot of luck involved, basically trying to determine if we suddenly have a front office filled with roster construction savants or simply stumbled into a fortunate situation that seems well ahead of schedule. There's a lot there, but I think it's an interesting angle because we have talked a lot of really great things about where the Suns are. Espo, is it luck? Is it a plan? Is it both? How do you analyze where the Suns are now and how they got there?
Well, I think in basketball, with any front office, any team, you have a plan, but there is a portion that has to be luck, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're not going to bat 1,000. You're not going to wind up getting every guy that you sign to work. Like, there is an element of luck to it. You're looking for a certain type of guy that will fit the system that you've built, and then you go get guys that fit that, but then there is luck. So I think it's a little bit of both. They came in with an extremely solid plan. They knew exactly the type of guy that they wanted to bring here. They found the coach that they knew could lead it, and it's working. Now, will guys like Jamari Bouye or Isaiah Livers come back to the mean a little bit at some point? I'm sure, but that is part of this. You're finding guys, and there's a little luck, but I think this is a lot to do with plan and research.
I don't think it's luck because it's shown up in so many different capacities through just a quarter of games already that it feels also sustainable. So we've seen guys have highs and lows. Jordan Goodwin's shot hasn't fallen for a few games at a time. It also has fallen for a few games at a time. What's been consistent in impact is the defensive tenacity, the activity on that end, and the offensive rebounding. Those are three things that quality-wise, he's always going to have regardless of other things ebbing and flowing. We look at other guys like Jamari Bouye, the activity side for him has consistently been there. The three ball isn't always there, but he just finds ways to have impact. I think there's multiple examples of that across the roster so far this season that shows that they're intentional about the empowerment part of the guys that they are bringing in. We're bringing you in, we're going to ask you to do other things, but we also know that you're really good at 2 or 3 specific things. We're not going to allow for you to deviate too far away from those, but you will have the freedom to explore other sides of your game when the game asks for it from you. But we're going to empower you to play to your strengths. And that playing to your strengths part is part of talent identification, but also just understanding how to get the most out of guys. And I think there's a healthy blend of both.
Yeah, to quote the philosophical musings of Sean Corey Carter, we might know him as Jay-Z, when they say when you play with skill, good luck will happen. And I think that it's both, right? I think that there is some skill in this front office to identify the guys who will fit and to have a vision. I also think that there is some luck that's involved in anything in professional sports. Like things have to go your way. And to be fair, this team has also had bad luck, right? With the injuries and the injury adversity that they've dealt with. Right. The fact that a lot of the guys that this front office has identified as fitting within the system, fitting within the culture, a lot of them have played outside of themselves. I think that's a testament to what they've put in place, and the fact that it's worked this well so far, I think is beyond anybody's wildest imaginations. But I do think that there was something that they had in mind at some point this season. So I do think it's an interesting blend of skill and luck. I think that just the fact that we are where we are right now speaks to what they are envisioning and what they're trying to do. And I think that it will continue because it is sustainable up to this point.
And Steven, I think what you said in terms of, not being luck, I agree. I don't think this was a front office getting lucky.
For sure.
I just think that, to your point, Gil, there is a modicum of luck in everything in sports, even if you're the best to do it.
I mean, look, if somebody stepped under Mark Williams when he took a layup and he's missed half the season so far, people are like, oh, well, you made a bad decision trading for Mark Williams, right? I mean, that part of that is lucky that a freak accident like that hasn't happened. I think when you maybe look at 1 or 2 individual moves, you might say, oh, well, they're lucky because of that. But like Steven said, when you start stacking these things and how intentional they were with this, Jordan Ott was not the top hire by a lot of people's margins, even for us that were talking about it on this show, right? It's hard to talk about assistant coaches with 100% accuracy, but he wasn't a guy that was in our top 3 or top 2 or top 1, right? There was an intentionality when it came to doing that. Retaining Colin Gillespie, there was an intentionality with doing that. We heard that they were very intentional with wanting to add Dillon Brooks for specific reasons that Dillon Brooks has proven so far this year. The same thing with Jalen Green. We're just still waiting for him to prove it. With Mark Williams, you're like, oh, why are you trading for Mark Williams? Well, because they had an intentional plan with drafting Kaman at 10 and developing him. I think if we were talking about luck, you'd be saying Kaman is playing legit rotation minutes and looks like the number 10 overall pick, and Rasheer is playing legit rotation minutes, and Nigel Hayes-Davis, because even the best GMs don't have 100% hit rate. But what we've seen is it's all happened in a sustainable way. Are the Miami Heat a lucky organization, or are they a smart organization? Are the Oklahoma City Thunder a lucky or a smart organization? Well, there might be some luck. The reality is those front offices put themselves on the best path forward from a player evaluation standpoint. And then if 1 or 2 things break your way, that's when you go from good team to great team like OKC, who might be sitting here looking at 3 lottery picks while winning 70-plus games in a season. The Suns are not lucky. The Suns have put themselves in a position to take advantage if luck does happen.
Yeah, we said this yesterday when we were grading the front office, right? We were talking about the things that they did in the margins, which I think is where you really get judged and graded, like the decision to go at Jordan Goodwin at the end of training camp. The decision to say, you know what, we need to make some things switch them up a little bit with our two-way contracts. Let's go with Jamari Bouye. And not even knowing what was going to happen, but the fact that when what happened did happen as far as injury goes, we have this guy who's ready, who fits within, and they had the foresight to know that that was something that they might need. I think that does speak a lot to the capabilities of this front office and the vision that they have. And it's not just something that they're saying, they're actually acting out on it in real time.
100%.
Yeah, look, obviously things have been going great. Our question here from Sean, also in the Discord, he says, serious question. What would you say your adjusted expectation is for this team? If Book and Green can both come back strong, mine will soar to maybe unrealistic levels. So let's do this in terms of preseason win-loss predictions. I'll start. I picked them to go 43-39, which is pretty high.
Yeah.
4 games above 500. I would say realistically they've been playing better than I thought, but I don't know if I want to change my win-loss prediction. If I did, maybe 44, 45 wins. I think my ceiling for what they could be has raised dramatically, though. Not something I'm confident in saying that's going to happen, but the best case scenario that I imagine for this season has become a lot better than what I was imagining before. I was already pretty high on this group, having them above 500.
Yeah, I had them at 38 wins, and I thought, I'm being optimistic, and I thought, oh, maybe they could get to that 42 mark if everything goes perfect health-wise, and Booker at an MVP type season. I now look at 38 to 42 is the range where if you don't hit that, I'm going to be disappointed after this start. But I'm not going to be like, oh, 50 wins now. Like my mind can race, like you said, if Jalen Green comes back, if they get a weird rhythm, with not a weird rhythm, but a rhythm with that. But I can't let myself get too far past where it is. So.
Yeah, my preseason prediction was 40-42. This was all-inclusive, assuming injury in some capacity. Didn't know the plan with Mark Williams was going to be this, but if he's missing the back end of back-to-backs, and you haven't really seen the most success on those, some of it obviously because he's not available in tandem with other injuries, all of that included. So I feel like there was going to be ebbs and flows. I didn't know they would get out the gate to this hot streak that they did to start through the first quarter. So that's giving me a little bit more thinking of maybe they can get up to 45, 46 wins. For full context, as far as their metrics so far through the first quarter, their win expectation is 52. So that's 12 more than what I had. And I was on the high side of people thinking that they were going to be around 30 wins this season. So they have a lot that they need to do to sustain that start that they've gotten off to. But I feel like I would feel comfortable saying that they might get to 45, 46 wins right now.
Yeah, if they get to 52 wins, we're getting some fireworks and go and shoot those bad boys off.
Yeah. Gil, we didn't get to hear from you preseason. Obviously, like it's like we know what's going on now.
Right.
But when you were watching this team and going into the beginning of the season, what range did you have their wins at?
Yeah, I was going to say I probably would have said somewhere between 35 and 40 before the season. I think it was a group with talented players, but I didn't know how cohesive it was going to be. Now we've seen what we've seen. I think that 40 is the floor. I think we would probably be disappointed if after all this they end up with just 40 wins. I think the ceiling is somewhere between 45 and 49 being like the best case scenario. But if you tell me at the end of the year they're going to be 49 and 33, I'd be like, yeah, I could see that happening. I know that a lot of that is dependent on getting guys back healthy, consistently staying healthy. But I think will benefit this team is that, right now they're in the gauntlet. They can kind of hang around, still come out of this gauntlet relatively unscathed, and then get the guys back in the lineup, build some chemistry as the season rolls on. I could see them taking advantage of a softer end to the season.
I mean, Mario puts it well in chat. 73-9 still
in play.
You're right. Real quick, just for context, last season 52 wins was a number 2 seed, Houston Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
That's the win. That's the based off of how they played, the metrics return and saying that they could be getting to that number this season. Obviously, they won't be the number 2 seed because the Rockets are the actual number 2 seed, and they're on to a certain pace right now too. If we're saying they're between 45 and 50 wins, that's anywhere between number 3 and number 8 last season. So that's
close.
A jump. That's getting close to jumping into the playoffs and just kind of beating that play-in threshold. So they're operating in a good space right now.
Look, I'm not going to say I'll be disappointed if they make the play-in because obviously you're kind of playing with found money considering where a lot of people expected this team to be.
Yeah.
But the way that I'm looking at how they're playing, let's just assume not full health, but like better health than what they've had, especially at the top from January on, right? I would be surprised with how they've been playing without all of those guys if they didn't win at a pace that kept them out of the play-in. I mean, we're talking 6th, 5th seed right now, which you're within a game or two of, and you've been winning games against San Antonio. You got another chance to beat Minnesota on Monday. And I know that a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about, hey, these games are still kind of important because these are all the teams that you're around there. The fact that Steven said 3-8, like you win 1 or 2 more games that you're, quote, not supposed to win, that could be the difference between, hell, playing home court and being in the play-in. So I think all of that is possible. I still think that there's a level to this team that if they can play for a long enough period of time together that they can crack that 50-win mark, but it at this point is unrealistic, right? Realistically, somewhere in that mid-40s feels like where they'll land, but I don't think anybody thought that we'd be realistically saying that at this point of the season. So considering all the outside unlucky factors that we mentioned, I think the sky is the limit relatively for this team before you get to like championship contention and deep playoff run, but compared to where their expectations were before.
And I'll just say though, to round it out, this season is 82 games for a reason. It's very much a marathon, words of Nipsey. And you've done well through the first quarter, but guess what comes after the first quarter? Teams understanding you have a certain style of play that you have. The scouting report grows thicker, it grows more thorough. And now you have to be able to adapt and adjust and counterpunch. That's what makes the regular season fun. So their work is still very much cut out for them. Obviously, they've done that with largely big percentages of their main rotation out. So they have that part in their favor as well. But they have plenty that they're going to need to answer coming forward. And I think that's going to be what makes the rest of this season fun because we'll get to see how Devin Booker responds to things. What Jalen Green looks like with him. What Jordan Knott looks like when teams have a second or third time against his teams, and they try to bring different wrinkles in to throw their script of a game off.
Look, that is all of our serious questions for the day. I want to do one fun question before we get out of here. We will be doing some more fun questions and whatnot. If you asked a question that didn't get answered here, we're going to be doing a members-only VOD for a couple more of these mailbag questions we didn't have time to get into today. So make sure you become a member today, like Elko in the chat. All of that will be available sometime later. Plus, also, check out Gil and Steven sat down and talked about Colin Gillespie's candidacy for Most Improved Player. Plus, what's wrong with the Most Improved Player award? That's already live on our YouTube channel right now. For some really good viewing for you after this show does end, as of course we gear up to Suns Rockets tomorrow, pregame, watch along, postgame show. But before we get there, this question from Mario in the chat and in our Discord says, if your life depended on it, Oso making a free throw or Jordan not playing the rookies, which one do you choose?
Well, we've seen Oso make a free throw, so we haven't seen.
We've seen the rookie. So we're talking about legitimate rotation minutes.
Yeah. So we've seen like 3 minutes of Rasheer Fleming to get close to that. I'm probably putting my life in Oso's hands because he's done it more recently.
Do you know what Oso Guidaro is shooting from the free throw line?
Probably 40-something.
36.3 is my guess.
39.1%.
That's probably
Price is right. I would win that.
That's probably my percentage chance of making it through the next 5 years anyway. So
Steven, life on the line.
What?
How do you follow
seen my
that?
medicals lately.
How do you follow that?
Right. How am I so? Thanks, guys.
Usually with an answer.
Thanks. We got a pregame show, postgame show.
Iguodala or the rookies? Life on the line, Steven.
We're talking about if they play tomorrow's game.
So here's the thing. You have, I guess you're going into a game, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's just say for middle of January to give some leeway here for the whole rookie thing.
Mm-hmm.
Playing a game in the middle of January, in-game situation.
Mm-hmm.
Either Oso Iguodala hits a free throw that game. He's guaranteed to get to the line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Or Jordan Knott plays the rookies in that game. You have to pick one in your life is on the line. Which one do you pick?
Take the free throw.
I am. I'm going with the Oso free throw because when was the last time we saw a rookie in the main rotation?
Yeah.
It's been 2 weeks. We've seen also.
It might have been 2 weeks since he hit a free throw.
No,
To be honest with you.
we've seen also make multiple free throws over the last 2 weeks.
He last made a free throw on November 18th.
That's multiple weeks ago. It is December 4th.
He hasn't made a free throw since I moved here. So.
Hey, we also haven't
seen
the rookie. We haven't seen the rookie for longer than that, though.
He's only taken 7. Missing 7 free throws in a row is kind of wild. They're free. But you know what?
Not if you miss them.
yeah, that's true. They're not
free for the other team.
Yo.
All right.
So either way, you're dead is what this question is.
So would you rather die or would you rather
if
die?
they watch the show, they'll do something to save our lives, and Oso would look out.
Man, I think
really
I also would move different if he knew somebody's life was on the line.
Yeah, see?
Okay, well, can somebody tell him that everybody's life is on the line every single damn game then?
Could you imagine that pressure?
Actually, I don't know if it would be better because obviously I'm sure Oso shoots a really great percentage from the free throw line in practice and in an open gym. A lot of these guys do. So if he knew that somebody's life was on the line, you might get a 10-second violation.
Oso free throw or the free throw to open the game? What are you putting?
Who's shooting
it? You don't know.
I'm taking Oso free throw. There's a lower percentage on hit free throws.
Could be the head of some sponsor, or it could be an actual former NBA.
If it's
player.
you, I'm going with Oso.
The only people that have made the free throws are the Mercury members, Satu and Coach Nate Tibbetts, right?
That's literally it.
Did Satu?
I feel like
Satu made it.
Satu
Tibbetts made it. Frank missed. K-Ray missed. Amari missed.
Yeah.
They had Cam Scadaboo shooting in a boot.
Amari smoked his. Oh my
because
goodness.
he's just too strong now.
Yeah. So there was a I think it was a tribal rep that made his. So there's been 3 people that made theirs. There's been 3 people that made theirs.
Erik, your lack of faith in me is disturbing.
Well, I hope we get to find out one day.
If you put me at the line for
You're
7
guaranteeing
straight free throws, I would not miss
you should ask them if you could shoot 7 if they ever let you do it. You should be like, look, the first one will be for charity. You gotta at least let me get 6 more.
Okay, I hit a half-court shot in that arena. Now it was empty, but
it's a little different.
Out of like 6 tries, so
look, it's a little different when the entire crowd's screaming
at you. You empty your mind, and I'm really good at that. You'll go watch Southwest Bias. It's 30 minutes in my mind.
Well, look, hopefully we filled up your mind with all sorts of knowledge today for our PHNX Suns mailbag. If you did enjoy it, let us know. We'll be doing another one of these probably in another month or so, maybe when we get closer to halfway in the season or when we get closer to the trade deadline. Of course, a lot of the topics we talked about today, we will continue to dive into on 3 p.m. shows when we get a chance. But if you are new around here, our bread and butter during the season, we're doing pregame and postgame shows for all 82, possibly 83 if they make it to the finals of the NBA Cup. Plus, we'll do watch-alongs, like a watch-along on Friday, plus a watch-along for the NBA Cup in our pajamas, by the way, next Wednesday. And then, of course, we have all sorts of other content, too. Steven will have film breakdowns that come out periodically throughout the season. We'll have VODs, like the recording that Steven and Gil did earlier today on Colin Gillespie, plus shorts and everything in between. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. It's free. Hit the like button if you haven't. It's free. Become a member. That's $5 a month. Get the extra mailbag, get the extra breakdowns, and, of course, get access to all the exclusive emojis, especially the couple of new ones that we've added.
Steven, if you really did that, we should ban you.
I'm pretty sure that's a shot or an ode to Draymond Green, who is like, man, I really hated that I had to miss the birth of my child for this regular season game. Meanwhile, Luka's going to be in Slovenia, and we've seen every single NBA player miss a game. Anyway, we appreciate you being here. Steven in the chat. Just hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, tune in with us and all the other PHNX shows here. Of course, you can follow the show at PHNX_Suns for all the latest and breaking Phoenix Suns news and updates, plus fun questions and mailbags and all of that. We appreciate the Freckled Mamba always making the magic happen behind the Mac. You can follow him at Freckled Mamba. You can follow Steven. That's Steven with a PH. Of course, getting updates from Valley Suns games, practices, shoot-arounds, and of course, at the Morgue for every single home game. So make sure you give him a follow at StevenPG3.
And getting shout-outs from Jordan.
Yeah, literally a head coach of a basketball team was like, hey, how do you watch so much film? That's crazy. Look at this smile on his face. You can follow Espo at Espo. Catch him on Southwest Bias every morning. Follow Gil at GilMcGregor_. You can follow me at ERIKRUBY. And just remember, life on the line. I'm going with Oso.
We all silly like the mayor.